Government of India in the domains of rural, urban, and livelihood. Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, Shyama Prasad Mukherjee Urban Mission, formalization of micro enterprises being some of the key flagship programs designed by her. She is currently with the Ministry of MSME as Chief of Programs handling externally aided missions. Ms. Vinita is a public speaker and a thought leader in diverse issues of nation building. She is on the board of studies of leading global institutes and a mentor to social foundations that work toward empowering women and the girl child. Ms. Vinita was recently given the Women of Excellence Award from the Indian Achievers Forum for her outstanding contributions to the field despite all hurdles. Welcome, Ms. Vinita Hariharan on our show. Ms. Vinita Hariharan, you are a national level policy expert, and you are also the public policy advisor, Government of India, and you are working day and night for empowering women and girl child. So we would like to know your views about the socio-economic empowerment. Ms. Vinita Hariharan, please.
Namaste, Lal Goel ji and my fellow panelists, Sudhir Sharanji and Rakesh Kumar ji. It's indeed a pleasure to be on your show, Lal Goel ji, always, as you give us the freedom to express our thoughts without any interruption. And so it's always a pleasure to share the panel also with esteemed other luminaries in the field. So I think you had asked me to touch upon what the Government of India's efforts are towards socio-economic empowerment. So as we all know, the current government's thrust and efforts have always been towards empowering the common man. So it is about empowering and not really about welfare schemes or to kind of spoil them with subsidies and grants. But at the same time, there has been a consistent effort over the last decade to also continue with the subsidies and grants in a manner that is that has to be optimally utilized by the common man. And also, it's also about empowering the common man with all other fundamental services like the basic amenities, like the roads, like we say, Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. That's one of the principal founding philosophies. So in that, we actually, very simplistic term, if we want to put it forward to the people, what is the principle behind the present government's functioning is, you give a house to every man. So that is the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. And then in that house, you provide the essential facilities such as toilets, which is the Swachh Bharat mission. And then you provide lighting, which is again the electricity, the Saubhagya mission. And so all of these programs have been designed with the view of empowering and facilitating the common man, first of all with basic amenities. So because, we had a lot of backlog and we still didn't have a country which was open defecation free till about 2014. And this is since we achieved ODF only recently, the last 2 years or so, when our country has officially been declared as open defecation free. So we had to first make up for all that and provide fundamental services to the common man. So that is one way of empowering the common man. And then go into the social amenities, like providing them with skill sets so that they're able to, first of all, get skilled jobs and also to be able to set up their own enterprise. So that has been a big thrust of this government towards enterprise creation, to be job creators and not job seekers. So that's the second, the third aspect. So like the Maslow's theory, the basic amenities first are getting saturated, and then, the social and then the digital amenities. Of course, there's a lot of emphasis on saturation of or providing, universal access to digital services, where also we have made sufficient progress. And most of our Grama Panchayats are now covered with optical fiber cables. And so that is another area of empowerment. And so the government could not actually wait for first the basic amenities to be saturated and then go towards social and economic. So all this is happening simultaneously. So if you see the current budget also, you see a lot of thrust on new age, new generation technologies, blockchain, going clean and green, and empowering the youth to set up their own startups and MSMEs, and the collateral securities. The collateral loan guarantee programs extended for MSMEs, etc. But at the same time, the welfare schemes have also not been forgotten, and that has been going on a trend. And there has been an increase in all the welfare schemes, be it Jal Jeevan Mission, be it Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, be it the Ayushman Bharat. All of them have seen an increase in allocations. So this increase has to go on till we achieve saturation in basic services, and then we focus only on economic and social empowerment, like in the developed countries. So that's one aspect of the government's focus towards towards socio-economic empowerment. But apart from that, if you look at the affirmative action principles like the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes, the OBCs, and also the women, so all of these are constituting a substantial portion of our population. And so women empowerment, there are lots of programs and policies being designed especially for women empowerment. And if be it for the pregnant and lactating mothers, for empowering women, like increasing the marriage age of women. So that has also been recently done. And then also for Muslim women, the removal of triple talaq, and all of these are social reforms that go towards empowering women. And apart from that, many of the schemes of the flagship programs, we have certain reservations for women. And even for the MSMEs, the Ministry of MSMEs, it's also bringing out a special package under the CGT MSA, which is a credit guarantee trust, the package for gender, for women entrepreneurs. And also there are a slew of schemes that have been promoted by the Ministry of Commerce and the Ministry of MSMEs for empowering women enterprises. That is about women. And as far as scheduled caste and other backward castes are concerned, all flagship programs have essential allocations for scheduled castes. So whatever subsidy goes towards, of the total subsidy, at least about 10 to 20% is reserved for the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes. So that's about what the affirmative action is in India. But we still realize that we have miles to go in terms of actually getting the Gini coefficient at par with OECD countries. So, but I think we'll get there soon with all of this balanced approach with welfare and the enterprise economy going hand in hand. I think we'll get there soon. And with a very buoyant economic growth projections of 9.2%, 21-22, and 22-23, 8.5%. I think with economic empowerment and with this whole trust on public expenditure also, I have to mention that about the infrastructure investment trust which the budget has given, that will also generate a whole lot of jobs for the youth across sectors, across caste, creed, religion, etc. And also about the slew of reforms by the Ministry of Labour, which is also pro-labor and pro-migrant labor, where you have now most of the migrant laborers coming onto the eShram portal, which is actually bringing them into the formal networks and facilitating them with access to EPF, Employment Provident Fund. So that's going to be almost mandatory across board for everybody to be enrolled onto the EPF. That's a huge empowerment step taken by the government. So that's in a nutshell what the government is doing towards socio-economic empowerment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Vinita Hariharan, for explaining the details how the government of India is doing the socio-economic empowerment. And she said that they have started from this by this present government from 2014, the different flagship schemes like Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, and constructing the house, giving them the house to those who are very marginalized, very poor people, and giving them the electricity. Open defecation is totally now free. India is free, and so we can giving them the toilets inside those houses. So according to her, by giving these basic amenities, it's we are empowering them. At least they will be able to stand in the society, and then training them for the skills so that they can become an entrepreneur, not a job seeker, but job givers. And according to her, according to Ms. Vinita, the government is also empowering the women, empowering the children, and all those marginalized section of the society. And for that, government has come out with many schemes. And she mentioned about this year's budget also, which has entrusted about 35% amount has been increased in this capex thing, which according to her, this capital expenditure will definitely give more opportunities to this marginalized section. She also mentioned that the government's this SHRM portal will also be favoring the labor and the migrant laborers, because they all will be under now the SHRM portal, so are covered under the EPFO. and all those facilities which government will give, so they will not have the hardship which they faced earlier in the time of COVID, which we have seen. It was a very, very terrible time, but now the government has providing all those things. So according to Ms. Vinita Hariharan, it's a long way to go, but still the present government is doing lots of work, and according to her, if this thing will go on, the time will definitely come. It will take time, but it will come when we can say very proudly that the socio-economic empowerment is there. Thank you very much, Ms. Vinita Hariharan, for giving your views. Now I would like to invite my second panelist guest, and he is Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran. Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran is the former visiting professor, IIM Lucknow and University of Texas at Dallas, USA. He is the senior director of Don Bosco Group, Bengaluru. He is the founder of Dr. Sharan Consultancy, California, USA. He is the director of Eldo Private Limited, New Delhi. He has done his MBA from IIM Ahmedabad in 1980. He did PhD in 1986. He started teaching and researching business and entrepreneurships since 1984. He published research papers in reputed journals, international seminar proceedings, and chapters in books of readings. He started academic administration phase as dean in 1997, rising to executive director, controlling management and engineering institutes in 2007. Her Highness Governor of Karnataka nominated Dr. Sharan to the Senate of Bangalore University in recognition of his distinguished academic contributions. He was visiting professor of University of Texas at Dallas from 2012 to 2019. He also visited Washington State University and President University Indonesia on the invitation of the Dean Faculty of Business in 2018. He innovated and implemented a unique model to double the turnover with existing infrastructure in one accounting year. He is co-promoter of Institute of Family Business Management Society. He is honorary director of NCR Delhi-based high-tech B2B digital startup. He is also co-founder of OWGI Foundation, which promotes social entrepreneurship ventures. Welcome, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran on our show. Professor Saran, you have heard what Ms. Vinita Hariharan has said, and she explained in a nutshell the scheme, the flagship schemes of the government of India, the present government of India's, what they are doing and how they are planning to empower the social and all those who are marginalized section of the society. You being the co-founder of OWGI Foundation, which promotes social entrepreneurship ventures, as well as with your vast experience, not only in India, but abroad also, we would like to know your views on socio-economic empowerment. Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, please.
Thank you, Mr. Goel, for this opportunity. It is a topic which is very close to my heart. And thank you, Ms. Vinita, for outlining what all is happening on the policy and practice front. It did bring a perspective to us. Thank you, Professor Arya, for joining us, for enriching the discussion. Topic is so broad that one man or one woman cannot do justice to it. So I'm happy, Mr. Goel, you have brought all three of us together so that we can get a comprehensive picture. The first thing that we must ask is, what is social economic empowerment? The second thing is, where do we stand in our country? Or if we narrow the focus, in the state of our residence or preference. And if we still narrow the focus, then the town, city, or village to which we belong. 3 levels. Thirdly, we want to evaluate and decide what is the way forward. Fourth and finally, if a country overlooks socio-economic empowerment, where does it land? Is it a good place or it is a horrible place? So these are the 4 things I plan to share my thoughts on in the limited time that we have. Socio is derived from social, economic is from financial and related entities. Empowerment is a concept where It is connected to, I'm happy Ms. Vinita mentioned Maslow's hierarchy. The top of the hierarchy, the concept which came up in 1930s by famous Maslow, is self-actualization. And therefore, as she rightly pointed out, beginning from the base level, physical needs, to intermediate needs, to the ultimate need which is there, this is our concept of socio-economic empowerment. Let man cross the glass ceilings, irrespective of gender, class, religion. None of these man-made barriers should stand in the way of what God has given us, nature has given us, if you are non-spiritual, if you are atheist, to achieve the highest one. So if our empowerment programs are designed and are functioning properly, then it is possible the weakest of the human being during the journey of life will climb ladder by ladder up and finally be the best he can be, the best she can be. The socio empowerment is dominant over economic empowerment. This is a universal truth. And therefore, society is the crucible for the kind of economics it nurtures, the kind of political economy it favors. This is where I want to mention one thing. If proper government is there, which is an ideal, which seek on striving towards it, different countries try in their own different ways, but the goal is same. There is a proper government, irrespective of geography, irrespective of idealisms. And the proper one is where rights to life and property are protected. That's the function of the government, the public sector. Rights and properties of individuals are protected. Social systems, if they are so designed and functioning that I never fear that my property will be encroached upon, if I don't fear my life will be endangered, for me, I have been empowered socially. Economically, there is a very folksy saying, Bhukhe bhajan na hohi Gopala. Translated says, a hungry man is not interested in prayers. Survival, physical survival is at the base. Our economic system must be so fair that a man who wants or a woman who wants to work for livelihood is not hindered. I hope the government programs in their design and implementation will keep on improving progressively. Ideals are not achieved in a day. I agree, Rome was not built a day. I'll go with Vinita ji. I'll be patient, though our patience is being tested by different government of different denominations. Forgive me, it's my personal opinion. Lots more could have been done in lots less time. We attained political freedom, thereby the right to determine our economic destiny in 1947. We matured in 50s with adoption of a constitution. We are going too slow, but thank God, 2022, the pace is changing for one simple factor. This brings to my third topic, and that is during COVID, when the first lockdown came, the lid was tore off our socio-economic empowerment. We saw inhuman scenes. The vignettes are fresh in my memory. When a working class couple was walking to their home place on foot, and it so happened that the police got suspicious and they stopped the father, young man in his 30s barely. And then only he revealed that his baby is dead. He doesn't want his wife to know. This is the ultimate in loss of empowerment economically. Therefore, I think today through our platform, I like to underscore, we are a nation which leads the world in feeding talent. UK health system will crash if all the Indian origin doctors decide to come back to motherland. America's big tech and high tech, even health sector, will crash if all the India origin talent comes back. If my fellow IIM people decide to quit multinationals and work for Indian origin multinationals or things, the management wealth creation will crash in no time. If we are the mother fountain to supply talent to all over the world, we definitely have talented people like Ms. Vinita, who was given a government scholarship to go to the most distinguished policy places in the world and come back and do it. So therefore, let us deliberate today. What are the roadblocks, visible and invisible ones, which we can tackle in time-bound manner with a strong determination, so we achieve the goal of socio-economic empowerment, where each Indian is free to achieve his self-actualization, be it a man, be it a woman, be it high place, be it low place, be of one class, be of another class. Differences notwithstanding, let us put our heads together today, Mr. Goel, and find a way forward. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, for giving your views on socio-economic empowerment. And according to Professor Sudhir Saran, the government, although we got the independence in 1947, we got the constitution in 1950, but the pace was not that much what was expected. But now things are moving. But he says we have seen during the COVID time in the first lockdown how the tragedies, so many tragic scenes were there. He described one of them, and according to him, that is where our socio-economic empowerment fails. Unless we will not provide all the basic things for the security of life and the property, we will not be able to empower the marginalized section of the society. So he says the government is doing well, but only thing is there are roadblocks. There are many things. And he also mentioned that India is giving the talents to all over the world, the best universities, the best tech companies, health sectors in UK, USA. And he says if they all will come, they will crash. But in India, we require more work to be done so that the real socio-economic empowerment be done. Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, for giving your views. Now I would like to invite my last but not the least panelist, and he is Professor Dr. R.K. Arya. Professor Dr. R.K. Arya is the Professor of International Economics at Manav Rachna International Institute of Research and Studies, Faridabad. He is triple postgraduate in Statistics, Econometrics, Finance, double PhD in Finance and Economics from Delhi University. He worked in Applied Economics and Social Welfare, Government of India. He contributed hundreds of articles in leading economic newspapers. He is guiding PhD scholars on various applied topics. He possesses thorough knowledge of social welfare, development, public policies, education, and employment. He attended many conferences, workshops, and presented papers. Presently, he is teaching MBA students. He has good understanding of international economics. He is having practical experience in education planning in Planning Commission, where he worked earlier. Welcome, Professor Dr. R.K. Arya on our show. Professor Arya, you have heard Ms. Vinita Hariharan as well as Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran. Ms. Vinita Hariharan gave all the policies which this present government is implementing through the flagship schemes, and the way of how the government is doing and how it is going on. And Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran mentioned about the policies which are there, but there are still some roadblocks and way to go. Now, being a reputed economist, and you have also worked with the Planning Commission, Government of India, we would like to know your views on this socio-economic empowerment. Professor Dr. R.K. Arya, please.
Thank you, Goel Saab. And I am very pleased to share the dais with the two scholars, Ms. Vinita Hariharan and the Professor Sudhir Sharan. And they have elucidated the concept very well. Particularly Vinita Hariharan has got the direct applications which are being taken care of by the present government, that is strengthening the socio-economic profile of the people of the country with housing, with the healthcare system and the education and transport and all that. And she has also spoken about how the women can be empowered, and reinforced by this idea by Professor Sudhir Sharan. He has pointed out that the protection of life and property is very important, and it should not be looted, and then you become vulnerable and your socio-economic profile goes down. Of course, they have shed light significantly that how one can be intact on socio-economic status of the country. But since you have already highlighted in the preamble that the entourage to the subject is very wide and anyone can go through any route, so that will never be complete even if we continue to discuss for many hours. But still, lot of policy points and the discussion can take to a suitable direction where the policy should be there to strengthen the socio-economic profile. That is the empowerment, you can say, has to be done. The fact remains that India is suffering from acute poverty. Its Human Development Index, which is a proxy to the social empowerment, is pathetically very low, 128 among the sensible countries. You can say about 150, 160. We can never compare ourselves with the Syria or Sudan in Africa and West Asia. But at the same time, we are a dignified country, inherited the legacy from the British government. And whether we were expected to go, the British have gone in the country, or we were expected to follow the footsteps of our rishis and sages. We have not gone anywhere. The problem, in fact, was we inherited weakness from the previous system. First of all, I will comment upon the scheduled caste people. From ages, they were working in the menial occupation, as a result of which they were considered the rote in the society, and something could not be done, and they could not be protected through constitution also. Then coming to the scheduled tribes, that they are living in the secluded area, forest, where the outreach of public welfare is limited. So therefore, 7.5% population, or now it is 8.1% scheduled tribe, they have been left behind. They are dusted away from the mainstream of the socio-economic development. Gradually, the scheduled caste people have picked up, because earlier they were engaged in slaughtering, tanning, and then small cobblers like this. So their socio-economic profile continued to be low. But after the reforms in 1991, the government has fired all the engines of economic growth. But primarily, when we see that the socio-economic profile as depicted by the Human Development Index, which is pathetically low, does not give us too much of satisfaction. We are still struggling to raise the standard of the people in the country. Coming back to that is the literacy level, education, healthcare, sanitation, housing, transport, and roads, that is daily used roads, that how the people are struggling. It is giving us a kind of sense that the socio-economic profile has not been improving over the period of time. And I beg to differ that if we continue to give the free ration to the people, 80 crore people, and which is expected to be given the most poor, it means the people are still surviving on the alum given by us, so by the government rather. So that is again a very, very deplorable situation. We should not be contented with it. The second thing, when we talk about the literacy rate has moved very fast. It has gone to touch about 80% for the male and 62% for the female. But when you compare the literacy of the Uttar Pradesh, it does not compare with the literacy rate of Kerala, which has got 100% literacy rate. Because the thing is that whatever literacy the people of the Kerala has achieved, it is as per the books. But when we say that the people are literate up to 80%, so they cannot be considered as literate as effectively as the other are, because we are unable to take our voice to the political system. We are not able to raise our voice in the parliament, though we are the government by the people, for the people, of the people. But when you see that the 542 people in the parliament, they are just, having one side of argument, then they never consider that that is they are talking about the public. So one-sided affair in the government cannot alleviate the problems there in the socio-economic realm. What I have seen over the period of time, that the women they were kept in the four walls. In the rural area, they could not be allowed to interact. Somehow the microfinance, as you were talking about, has given some opportunity that in the self-help groups, they are in a position to discuss their domestic problems. They are able to participate in the political space, and they are in a position to take care of the education of the children. But since India being largely a patriarchal society, it does not give space to the women to participate in politics as well as in social domain. As such, the women in some of the states like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Jharkhand, and all that, they are not moving forward in terms of their social rights. Their education standard is still very poor. Their economic opportunities are still very, very weak. What we have seen is that why this distortion has taken place, any state which is economically developed from the very beginning, like you see Haryana and Punjab, they had done significantly well there in Green Revolution. So in terms of agriculture, they were empowered with the growth in the crops, and they could able to build themselves, and they can place themselves in the realm of social development. But coming back to the UP, it is the political ploy which has destroyed the fabric of the society. Therefore, the social development and economic development could not be that praiseworthy in Uttar Pradesh. Similarly, in Bihar, which is ruled by the ruthless leaders for about 20 to 25 years, so they in fact were exploited, and their lands and all that could not be protected. Even life was under threat for long many years in these two states. Jharkhand, though it is endowed with too much of minerals, but their development is very tardy, in the sense that the participation in policy making is not adequate there in the underdeveloped state like Jharkhand, Bihar, Uttar Pradesh. Somehow the coastal districts of Orissa were under problem for long time. And this is the administration of the BJD government for long time of 25 years, Naveen Patnaik. It has alleviated the sufferings of the people there. And now we can say that they are in the medium range, that is the Odia people. In somewhere, the politics and the people participation, that is the nexus between the politicians and the people, have given some advantage.
Dr. Saran, can you hear? No, I think we
have raised the socio-economic status of the people or not. This is a very puzzling type of question. It cannot be answered in certain terms. One, you will see that if the poverty alleviation was from 33% to 22%, it was brought from 2004 to 2014 with Manrega. It was considered significant. But now after COVID, we have seen that the poverty level is back to 28 to 29%. Then what we will have to say, it means the wealth distribution was not equal in the early time. So therefore, with a single, single effect of the COVID has taken a toll on the lives of the people, and also it has dented the income of the people. It means when the income of the people have been dented, and it is difficult to give them the succor that way that they continue to survive on the policy of the doles given by the government, freebies and all that how long the government will continue to give the ration. 2,50,000 crores of rupees is spent on giving the ration to the people. So there will be a time when it will have to be closed. And how long the government will continue to build 6 crores houses, given the fact that the people do not have the parcel of land where this house has to be built with 1,35,000 rupees, even though the toilets have been given. But how many of these are factually used for the purpose these are given? Now the government is trying to reach the jal se nal, nal se jal. It will take another few years that when it will be able to give the people the drinking water. Malnutrition level is very high in the remotest area. So work opportunities in case are not available in the remote area, these are not equally distributed. You will end up in producing the casual workers, because education and economic development are strictly interrelated with 100% correlation, that if your educational outcome is not very acceptable, then definitely you will end up in as a casual worker, not even semi-skilled or unskilled worker. You will be only the casual worker. At present, we have got a military of casual workers. They are not employed. What you will say about in the big cities like Mumbai and Delhi and Trivandrum, where thousands of people are sleeping on the pavement and they are spending day and night there. Whether we should consider them the socio-economic strong people? No, because they do not have the roof over their head. They have not gone into the school, or there was not proper, sports system missing from the government. So now economics is called here in the sense that it is the government which has to set the direction of the development. How it sets the direction of the development, whether it is matching the manpower supply with the demand of the manpower. We have constructed thousands of corporate sector after 1991, but their employment is only up to few lakhs of rupees, few lakhs of that is people. But when it comes to the MSMEs, that is roughly around 6 crore 30 lakhs MSMEs are there. 12 crore people are working there. It means 2 persons per unit. What will be the level of productivity? What will be the goodness of productivity there? This is the reason that small MSMEs, they are not given social securities in terms of the provident fund, in terms of the ESI facilities, in terms of that is social safety net. All are missing there. Therefore, the reason the government in fact is doing the lip services, it is making e-Shram portal where the labor can register themselves, that in what location you are, simply they can write. Otherwise, they do not have any profile because they have got no education, they have got no skill at all. Only the labor, quantity will be mentioned there in the e-portal. It will, how far the government will able to protect their minimum wages through Minimum Wages Act, it is next to impossible. A very strange thing has happened in the social sphere is that after reforms, before reform, we had got 90% as the public educational institution. Now we have got almost 70-30 ratio. 70 are for the rural area and 30 are for the urban area people, that where their children can study comfortably with any amount of fees they are charging, they are willing to pay for that. But in the rural area, where the focus was expected to be there on the public institution, it is entirely missing in some of the states like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar. Now gradually the chief minister is trying to see that all the organs of the government should be functioning very well. Otherwise, the people were migrating for higher education to some other states like Jawaharlal Nehru University, Delhi University, mostly in the northern area. I am talking about mostly the Bihar and Uttar Pradesh. Now there is some awakening happening there in some of the states, and gradually they are picking up. Now the lag in fact is too high, that housing alone and the toilet alone and the ration alone cannot do good to these people, in the sense that all of a sudden the socio-economic status will improve and empowerment will take place. It was expected to be a gradual process. Somehow the shift in the policy environment, which the present government has done, that the social welfare has to be done without taking care of the economic welfare. The unemployment rate at present, if you consider that the labor force participation rate has fallen down by 4 to 5% in case of male and significantly for the female, and still the unemployment is rate is around 10%. And what is employment and what is unemployment? You can see the definition, that any person, even if he is working for 1 or 2 hours in a week, then he is considered as employed as per the recall period of 7 days. But when you see whether actually they are economic empowered can be seen from the fact that the child labor has not been abrogated so far in the country. Whenever the people see the opportunity, they engage the child labor. They are keeping the maids of 14 years and 15 years of old. What you can say about the family of that girl who has gone 2000 kilometers away from home and working there? In 25 years ago, I had seen that the people used to sell their daughters and they were forced into the, I cannot say with my own mouth that that is very shameful for the country. Even now, when the COVID has struck the nation very badly, many people have married off their daughters who were 10 to 12 years old. It means they are not able to feed these family size of 5 to 6. So therefore, female can be easily married off. They had gone there. So socio-economic empowerment, when you say, it has to be done gradually through the policy, not through the vote bank politics. I straight away castigate on that is what suddenly there is a burst of all schemes, and it was done to consolidation of votes. And I have heard in the UP elections also, that हमें तो राशन मिल रहा है, गल्ला मिल रहा है, then he is asking whether you have been given the house, हमें house भी मिला है. Now see the status of plight of these people, those who are very happy with a ration of 5 kg that does not contain only that does not contain meat and eggs. It has got only, you know, wheat and rice, which is procured in surplus by the government. Instead of throwing, even the animals do not eat when it is in surplus because it is lying in the open. So therefore the people are consuming. So this is the state of socio-economic development or socio-economic empowerment of the people. It means the housing alone or something, toilet alone cannot raise the standard of these people. It is through, you know, designing the policies for industries and the work opportunities, whether the people are in surplus. So therefore you design those activities. So therefore there should be a coordination between the education policy, skill policy and training policy, and then you see how many workers are available for working in which industry. Then you set up accordingly the agro-based industries and the MSMEs. When you say that they are the largest absorbent of the manpower, so there should be some nexus between the education and manpower policy, labor policy, and all that. But the fact is that they are divergent. Sometimes you create economic environment, you give blip to the economic development by infusing the capital expenditure. It is not enough for every public that the capital expenditure will give them the employment. Capital expenditure will go to the people, those who are basically who is producing cement and steel. That is who is producing, that is the high use electrical equipment and all that. If at all it is a construction that is constructing the pillars, that they are the corporate sector. In corporate sector, everything is capital intensive. This is the reason that it is called capital expenditure. What I want to say is that the MSMEs and the agriculture sector, in case the government was really interested 7 years before, it should have paid attention to the agriculture sector and the MSME sector, because they are absorbing the huge labor force. Now only Manrega is left, and there is a shrinkage in allocation of Manrega. Last time it was taken up to 1,11,000 crore, and now it is only 70,000 crore. Still the people, those who are looking for the small job, they are in the construction, Pradhan Mantri Sadak Yojana or community development, community center or reservoirs, small work in the rural area. The government is not in a position to afford for, that is the material. 60-40 ratio is there in the Manrega. So government of course can give the wages to keep the poverty away, but it cannot provide the material. So this is the reason that there is a shrinkage in the budget. It is the society which was expected to take care of the socio-economic development of the people, like NGOs, as you have already said, local association, and something that foreign aid, the foreign countries, people from Europe were contributing towards the education of the children in the streets and all that. Now, when we say that is the people living in the Dharvi in Mumbai, about 10 lakhs people are living there, and they are living in a crowded and cranky environment. There is no proper water, there is no drinking water. So what you will say about their socio-economic status, it is not up to the mark that way. I should say like this. But in case when you say that the children below 5 years of age, they die before completing the 6 years of age, they die due to the malnutrition. They are the waste children, stunted children, and their mortality is roughly around 64.3%, 64.3 per thousand. And it does not compare well with the Syria and Sudan, those who have got in the range of 19 to 20. It means in terms of the socio-economic profile, the Syria is much ahead of India and Sudan. When we continue to neglect the people for our own gains and the political paradigm will change. Definitely the people will suffer. People do not have the say there in the parliament and legislative assembly. Equal participation, people participation is not there. So therefore, there will be a problem in the decision making, and the delivery of routes cannot reach up to them. I think now you are raising alarm for me. So I have understood it. There is enough to say about it. Whether
I will come back to you, Professor Arya, in the next
So,
round, so that you can.
I am
Yeah.
stopping unwillingly. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Professor Arya, for cooperating, for stopping, although unwillingly. But yes, because Professor Arya raised many very important questions. As Ms. Vinita has mentioned about the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, about electrification, about the empowerment of women and children, and all those. Professor Arya is having some different views about this thing. So, and he has given all in a very, and he compares few states. He says, yes, literacy, we have increased drastically. Now we are about 80%. But see the literacy rate of, compare with the Kerala with the Bihar. Kerala is all 100%. What about Bihar and UP and Jharkhand? So according to Professor Arya, economic of a state also plays a very important role, for which he mentioned about Haryana and Punjab, how because of the Green Revolution they have established, and that's why their literacy rate and their social economic empowerment is far more than the states, adjoining states of Uttar Pradesh and Bihar and Jharkhand and all those states. Thank you very much, Professor Arya, because I want that whatsoever things you have raised, let's hear what Miss Vinita Hariharan will say, because she is right now in working with the government, and she knows what is the policies, how they are planning to cover up what you have mentioned. So thank you very much. Now I will go back to Miss Vinita Hariharan. Miss Vinita Hariharan, you have heard Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran as well as Professor Arya. Though both have raised a few basic things, and you know that whatsoever the schemes which you also mentioned, that there is a long time to go. But as Professor Saran mentioned about the that how the lid was open when the COVID-19 was there at the first lockdown, and Professor Arya has given the figures. He also mentioned, he says that the free ration is not a good thing for a country with 80 crore people are depending on that. So it is not a good positive sign. And he has raised many things. We would like to know your views. Instead of that, I will ask a question that I will ask next time. But your views, what you have heard from both of them, and what you would like to say about that. Miss Vinita Hariharan, please.
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, I think Sudhir Sharanji had given a very well-balanced, methodology of approach towards socioeconomic empowerment. It was truly enlightening to listen to an academic perspective. It's always so refreshing to listen to academicians. When you're in the field, you really yearn for listening to the voice of the academic. So it was quite interesting to listen to your theory and to know that, to validate that, the government is perhaps going in the right direction, as per what Sudhir Sharanji mentioned. And of course, Rakesh Kumarji was playing, the other devil's advocate, if I may speak. So yeah, it's always good to get a correction, checks and balances on what you do, and not to be very self-complacent. But as I mentioned, there is a lot of backlog that we need to do. I think Rakesh Kumarji also mentioned about the backlog that, so many years. I mean, I think Sudhir Sharanji also mentioned about the freedom that we attained in 47 and what were we doing for 75 odd years, and so we still we were not able to get a hold on our poverty levels. We were not able to get a hold on corruption levels. All of those years we lost. But, I would not want to take any party ideology or stand here, but going by what the present government of India is doing, I think they're doing their best in terms of tightrope walking between various facets of development, on one hand, taking care of the macro level, macroeconomic indicators. One is that aspect we need to take care of. Apart from that, we also need to take care of our poor and also the rich as well, because we need income, we need tax income, we need money, we need revenue to run our economy. So we need to take care of all sectors, all aspects, and all groups of society. So I think that way the government has done a very well balanced role. And in the last 10 years, whatever said and done, even independent observers, independent evaluation agencies have evaluated these schemes, the success of schemes such as Swachh Bharat Mission, and they've come out saying that it is really there. The Swachh Bharat Mission toilets are there, and most of them are actually using it. There were naysayers who said that the toilets are not being used, there's no water. But then, of course, there were teething issues. And the next phase of Swachh Bharat, we saw ODF Plus, in which water supply was given to the toilets. And it's going on and on. So that, it's going on with that gusto, or with that momentum that it achieved in the first phase. So that's as much as the basic amenities are concerned. And we also know about Awas Yojana and all the earlier regime. We saw, houses being constructed in ghost islands, so to speak, the JNNURM houses, which were constructed in far-flung areas, and no one to occupy. There are data showing that there were hardly 25% occupancy in those houses. So what use is of those houses when you're not occupying them? Because there was this traditional flaw that they were doing, that constructing houses in outskirts for the slums and asking the slum dwellers to shift out of the cities, which never works. So the slum upgradation had to be the program of choice, and so which this government is actually talking about PPP and inviting private builders to come in and build affordable houses wherever it is, and I think the success rate is much more, as we can see the figures speak themselves. So as far as fundamental services and basic amenities are concerned, I think we're getting it pretty right. Of course, the COVID, now when you talk of COVID, we see, yes, pictures of laborers migrating out and mass exodus that happened in a country like India, with teeming millions and millions here, and with a variety of states and different poverty levels, grappling with so many poverty levels, and a global pandemic hit the entire world, and a country like India of mammoth size and huge challenges, varied challenges. I think that was bound to happen. There were some slip-ups that were bound to happen, but the government got their act right, and I think we've more than made up for that. And we've had a slew of reforms coming in the labor sector. We didn't see that kind of exodus happening again in the phase 3 or in so phase 3. And then we got our vaccination story right. We got a hold on the vaccinations. I mean, we have to give due credit to this government for achieving this, massive record in vaccinations, and with again current initial teething problems, but then we got a hold on it with all our digital platforms, with the Aadhaar linked vaccinations and all of that, and so we actually achieved a lot in that front, and we also increased our health spending tremendously. When there was better late than never realization of the government that health expenditure was low. Traditionally, it has been much below WHO standards even before this government came. But then at least the COVID, helped not only our country, the entire world to realize that there has to be a lot of impetus in health expenditure. And that has considerably increased now with all the programs, the Swasth Suraksha Yojana and all of that, the Ayushman Bharat and the whole PPP investments coming into the health sector to construct, health facilities. So even our health facilities at the primary level, till now we haven't got that right. The last so many years of independence, we don't have all our rural areas having access to basic healthcare services. So we have a lot of homework to cover, and so we need to give the government time. And but then again, in a very short span of time, in the global pandemic crisis, I think we've emerged the winner, so to speak, amongst all the countries. We are still rated as one of the leading economies of the world, not only by the government themselves, but by independent agencies such as the World Bank and the IMF. So I think we're not being complacent. We realize where we stand, and we know that our poverty levels are still, we need to take cognizance of that. And that is why the slew of welfare measures have not been mitigated. They've actually been increased, while also understanding that subsidies are a moral hazard. Subsidies is a dead rent. So we very well realize that we believe in market economics. The present government believes in market economics, but then we cannot ignore welfare economics so suddenly, because we have a huge backlog of poverty to cover. So I think it's a well-balanced act by the government. Yeah. So let us be optimistic and hope that, and give due credit to where it is required. And so it's not easy to run a government like India and to run a country like India. And of course, the states he mentioned, yes, of course, most of the subjects, are in the state list. And so the central government can only do as much as it can to facilitate the states to do their best. So it's upon the states to utilize these government programs which are being doled out in good measure, and they need to utilize it effectively. Now, I know very well the pain that is there in the last mile access to programs, because a lot of issues are with the state governments. State governments have to play their role in implementing the central government programs without political, affiliations. I know of state governments which don't want to implement central government programs just because they belong to the opposition party. So, which is such a injustice done to the common man, and also they change the label and they make it as it is their own program. But even then, the government is not objecting to it because they want the last mile, the last man's benefit to be taken care of. So, and as far as rations are concerned, free rations during COVID, I mean, we have to do that. Look at all what other countries have done. We haven't given subsidies to MSMEs. So, and on the other hand, there are complaints that, you haven't given grants to MSMEs, you've only given loans. And then on one hand, you say, why give free rations to the poor? I think that's the first time I'm hearing this. So, I think let's just be well balanced in our, perspective.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Ms. Vinita. Only one point I have to raise here. I would like to add, as you mentioned about that central government's aids which are going, the state governments are not following it. The states which Professor Arya mentioned, Bihar, UP, and Jharkhand, I think two of the states are of the same regime of the political parties.
Yeah,
the central.
I have to intervene, but he also accepted and acknowledged that Bihar has done well, and also Uttar Pradesh is a mammoth change in paradigm shift in the way things are working in Uttar Pradesh post this government came in. I have also experienced it because I have implemented large national missions, and I've seen the difference in the efficiency levels, as soon as the new government took over, which is very objectively speaking as a professional.
Okay, but still the figure says that your home state, Kerala, is doing the best in spite of the opposition party there. Your own planning commission or the Niti Aayog has given
No, it's not about they're doing best now. They have traditionally got an upper hand. We accept that on the health indicators. That was at one point of time, but this current global pandemic, they were not able to withstand the migratory pressures, and the so-called, the God's own country could not really live up to the expectations of their own migrant laborers, on whose income they're actually dependent. The NRI remittances is the maximum percentage of the economy of Kerala government. They were not able to cater to the NRI population when they came back to their motherland. The motherland to whom they were, giving so much of income and support, they were not able to be taken care of in their own state.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ms. Vinita. Now I would like to ask Professor Saran, as Ms. Vinita mentioned you about the academic, and yes, you are. How can we improve socio-economic development in India? And you mentioned something about roadblock. So can you just tell what are the roadblocks and how we can improve? If you can just mention, because you have heard both sides, the government side, and as she mentioned, the devil's advocate, Professor Arya, and you are in between. So I would like to know your views, how the government can improve the socio-economic development in India, and what are the roadblocks which you have mentioned, Professor Sir?
Thank you for a second chance to elucidate points. When I was listening to Ms. Vinita just now, few points become very clear. Ms. Vinita says we are trying to marry welfare economy with market economy. All the countries which have attempted this one all through the years, and we have close to 110 years of history with us. That is the roadblock. The attempt to be the priest or priestess, Vinita ma'am, who tries to marry these two, the welfare economy and the market economy. The result of that marriage, the child begotten from that, is what you yourself mentioned, is corruption. So the biggest roadblock in all the governmental schemes is it flows to the already powerful and at the cost of the powerless. That is what the child does when you try to marry the two. So this is the first. And at the granular level, what will happen is this. You may release, as Rajiv Gandhi said, a rupee from Delhi, central government, and it goes to the ground level panchayat for implementation. How much reaches there? 15 paise. So this illustrates what has happened in the domain of public policy for welfare. I was trying to keep out, Mr. Goel, the political side, because we try to focus on social and economic. If we insist on breaking the political thing, then remember one other roadblock is we, the people with voice, do not speak truth to power. Vinita will agree with me. All the social schemes in India have very staunchly denied being monitored, measured, evaluated by the program committees. They just don't want any accountability. That is the third roadblock, which is a product because of the political system and doing. The fourth roadblock is, see, a country is a country and government is only part of the country, public sector, private sector is there. The more you spend in your budget on welfare and empowerment programs, quote unquote, less is left for private investment. And private investment is the primary engine. So we have to recognize, reverse a few things, and restore this sanity. I'll stop here.
Okay. Thank you very much, Professor Sudhir Saran. Thank you very much. Now I would like to go to Professor Arya. Yes, you want to say something.
Give one reply,
yes,
to the 15 paise theory.
No, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me? Yeah, can you hear me?
Can you hear her, Professor Saran?
Can you hear me?
Yes, Miss Vinita, you are audible to me.
Okay. I'm audible to them. Lal Goelji, can you hear me?
And now I can hear you. Yes, please go ahead.
So no, what I just wanted to quickly just intervene when he talked about the transfer. So that is very well understood, the 15 paise to 70 paise thing, which Rajiv Gandhi ji mentioned. So that is why the direct benefit transfer has come in this government and has been implemented very strongly, wherein we're actually trying to give the last mile benefit directly to the beneficiaries, and that has got a lot of success rate in this government. So the flowing between state to block to district is not happening anymore in most of the programs. It's going directly to the beneficiaries. That is one thing. And about welfare and market economics, what I meant by the balance is not welfare to market, but both are going simultaneously. There is a thrust on the welfare economy. You cannot withdraw suddenly the subsidies, whereas there is also a lot of thrust towards incentivizing private sector investment.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Vinita, for your interjection. Now, Professor Arya, you have heard what Ms. Vinita has given the counter of what you have raised. Now, without asking you any question, I would like to ask you, or I want you to say something about what she has mentioned and the roadblocks which Professor Saran has mentioned. What are your views? Now you can say, and you will have say about 5 minutes to speak. So you will not blame me that I have stopped you. Please go ahead.
I would like to say here, for at this critical juncture, when COVID has ruined, has devastated the lives and livelihood of the people, what I wanted to say is that whether we prefer the market economy to be delivering the welfare economy, or welfare economy has to become the market economy, that is both things are opposite that way. Whether the welfare economy can make the market economy or market economy can make the welfare economy, both cannot do simultaneously. Because every state, every country is a welfare state, first of all. Even in United States of America, roads and dams and railways and all that are to be built up because the infrastructure in USA is becoming older by 100 years old. So therefore, there is a need to do the welfare economics there. It will never be a part of the market economy when you are giving the basic entitlements to the people of that particular advanced country of United States. We are somewhere between the, India is on one extreme and United States on the other extreme, and in between the two, there is China. China is a community development state. It is a community government which is trying to see the welfare as well as the market economy both. Here in India, we are nowhere. We are fixed between the two things. We are caught between the two, whether we want to a capitalist economy or a welfare economy. But by now you will see that how much is the market capitalization of the Bombay Stock Exchange? It is 145 lakh crore. And how much is the disbursement by the banks? You will see of yourself whether we are in a situation where we are neither able to decide whether we are to go market way or the welfare way. If the disbursement by the banks would have exceeded the market capitalization of the banks, then we would have said that we are well on the welfare way and we are strengthening the socio-economic empowerment of the people. But it is not. How the market is running, you will see, and how soon it sheds 5,000 points, you will be surprised to that. It was a greed for the foreign investment. It was the greed for the foreign exchange. This much was not needed. Now we are having the foreign exchange reserve of around $680 billion. It was not needed at all. It is lying in the reservoir only. It is in the reserve only. It is not taking care of the exchange rate. Exchange rate is slipping down every day. But the reserve is there to strengthen the credibility of the government that, see, we are the fast moving economy. When Ms. Vinita says that we are the emerging economy, it is a very simple understanding by any 9th standard boy that when the growth rate over the economy size of $3 trillion, that is roughly around 2 lakhs crores, if it is going fast at the rate of 7.8%, which will be this year we will be achieving, and United States has gone up to 5%, and its size is 2,200 lakh crores. We are 200 lakhs. It is 11 times bigger than us, and China is 4 times bigger than us, more than 4 times. So it cannot go at the faster rate because it has controlled the consumption and the wages of the people. And therefore now, after slowing down, when the export has beaten down, it is asking the people that now you can spend lavishly, and women have been told that you can produce more than 1 children. It means that they have paid attention to the equity, and when the people will grow old, they will able to use their saving. Like in Japan, you will see the Japan country as a whole, their companies are operating in large number of countries in the world, because the people have grown old, the fertility is negative, and this is that saving that the Suzuki is operating here, and it is operating even in Toyota and US. Their owners have grown very old. What is the equity for us? Whether we are achieving the goal of sustainable development, how much the climate is affecting the people in Odisha and West Bengal, and then in Puducherry, all oceanic states, you will see that they are faring from, that is so much of the cyclones and this thing. Is it not global warming? How would your 2 lakh crores of rupees will protect the people in the West Bengal then when they are washed away and they cannot be rehabilitated? So therefore, very gradually, we should have taken care of the manpower that is working in the MSME sector as well as in the agriculture. A simple question is why the government is faring from spending on the agriculture sector? Why does not it enter into the agriculture? Why it wants to throw away the agriculture sector in the private hand? This is a basic question. Is there no politics? The agriculture laws were enacted in September 2020, and these are withdrawn in 2021 on November with a single voice of the Prime Minister, yes, that these are not needed. So political consideration is, outpacing the economic consideration. So there is a defect that any government will take care of the public. This is because the public voices are not heard. The people are economically weak, people are socially weak. They cast their vote, they do not know to whom they are casting their vote. Hence, there is a problem. You continue to try with it. And I will say that when your decision making is fickle, that is definitely you will not have a single road on which you can go, and you will continue to scuttle the policy from one end to the another. Sometimes it will be a public expenditure and sometimes it will be a welfare expenditure. The people will not gain anything till your policy prescription is firm.
Okay, thank you, Professor Arya. I think this time you will not complain. I have given you full time. I will go back to Ms. Vinita Hariharan. Ms. Vinita Hariharan, now you have given the roadmap what the government is doing. There were some reservations, and Professor Saran mentioned about the welfare and the marketing economy. We would like to know now your concluding remark. 1 minute for each of you. Ms. Vinita Hariharan, please.
Yeah, so I would stick to the point that the government is taking care of all aspects of development and also about the climate change. I think we are one of the leading exponents of climate change today, and we have also surpassed our Paris commitments. This is the first time in the history of independent India that we have surpassed the Paris commitments, and there has never before been a government that is so gung-ho on renewable energy, and that's going to be the future of our energy sources in the country. And about agriculture also, our backbone of our economy during the COVID crisis was the agriculture sector, because the thrust that the government has given on the agriculture sector, and we can see the dip in the number of farmer suicides over the last couple of years. And without agriculture, we would not have survived this pandemic. So I think we are doing a great job in terms of trust towards rural development and agriculture. It's not just agriculture, it's also about farm and non-farm sector. We have a very well balanced approach towards the farm and the non-farm sector. So I think,
okay, thank you very much, Ms. Vinita. Professor Saran, 1 minute to you. Your concluding remarks.
The concluding remark is this: unless we have people who, within the bounds of self-interest, are able to speak truth to the power, empowerment will not happen. Whatever empowerment we have achieved will be lost over time. And the government should not become reckless when they listen to people who are speaking the truth to them. For simple reason is, ultimately, Professor Arya will recognize people are not helpless. They have franchise in our constitution. Thank God, as long as that is there, people, when they speak, giants collapse. So they must heed. The empowerment is a primary, self-interest is secondary, unless you want to be very short-sighted in your political self-interest, in your economic self-interest. Over the years, over 70 years, the equation has been disturbed dangerously. Vinita ma'am will please notice that she has an opportunity to set right one important thing. Please introduce accountability. Please introduce measurement, monitoring, and achievements of the different programs. Once that comes, 80% of the effectiveness will be achieved. So I request to her that she may listen to me at least and try to do what she can at her level.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Saran. Now the last word from Professor Arya. 1 minute only, Professor Arya.
Sir, I have been identified as the pessimist in the whole discussion, but still I will maintain the view that the government in 1991, whatever path they have laid down, it was not expected to be divergent. That if their capital expenditure was low, then definitely logistics are not going to serve anything. Say, for example, now what is the health of the railway system? Now roads you have built, but railway you have not strengthened. So definitely the empowerment will weaken. That way, I will say either you go by the welfare way startingly, and then stop the infrastructure. Let the human infrastructure should improve. Human development should improve. Focus on the health, focus on the legal justice. So we focus on the social justice. There are a lot of ministries. Focus on the rural development and forget about the capital expenditure for the time being. Let the people not die at the cost of building the infrastructure and showing expressway. This is my simple viewpoint, because lives are more important than infrastructure.
Okay, thank you very much, Professor Arya. So viewers, you have heard the views. One view from the government side, other view was from academic side, and the third view, economists who have some reservations, and as Ms. Vinita mentioned, the devil's advocate or pessimist. But it's a healthy thing. So that is what we wanted. That we want that the people should hear what are the views, what the government is doing. And as Ms. Vinita has rightly said, it's a long way. It's not that you will achieve everything overnight. But what Professor Arya says, that whatsoever it is, the life is more important than anything else. And Professor Sharan has said one thing, that please try to monitor the schemes which government is implementing. That is, you have to analyze the data, and once those data will be with you, you can very well give the figures to everyone that these are the realistic things. So basically, socio-economic empowerment is going on. We all know that there are so many schemes are coming up, but whether they have been implemented at the grassroots level, the last mile, it, as Ms. Vinita also accepted, that there are few of the state governments are resisting because of the opposition parties. They feel that if we will implement this scheme, with the credit will goes to the center. I appeal to all the political parties, please think about the empowerment of the people. After all, we all are we are the citizen of the country. We have made you, whether you are in Congress or BJP or BJD or a Samajwadi Party or TMC, you are nothing without us. You are there because we are there. The we means the citizen of the country. Please forget about this party politics. Come overboard. If a policy is good by the central government, please implement it. If you feel that it is not good, you come out with your own policy, good policy, and tell the things. But come out, do the work, so that it can be seen on the ground level also. Although the things are on, but still the miles to go. Thank you very much. And today's program has been live telecasted by V4NEWS, Karu News, V4 Stream, Malnadu TV India, News Gaon se, Samvad Sarokar News, Bharat Post News, Gyan, as well as was shown live on Facebook and YouTube. And we are to bring to you every day new topic. Tomorrow, in the media conference with Lal Goel, we have already started a new series from the last week, that is the Democratic Reform Series. And tomorrow our topic is judicial reforms in India. Last week we have taken electoral reforms in India. Now tomorrow the topic is judicial reforms in India at 10:30 a.m. And our panelists are Justice Rajiv Lochan Mehrotra, former High Court Judge, Chairman Review Committee Shahjahanpur, Judge Pramod Kumar Goel, former District and Session Judge Meerut, Advocate K.C. Jain, social activist and Supreme Court lawyer Agra, Dr. Naveen Gupta, Director, Hindustan Institute of Management and Computer Sciences, HIMCS, Sharda Group of Institutions, Mathura. So please tune in tomorrow for media conference with Lal Goel at 10:30 a.m. Thank you very much, Ms. Vinita Hariharan.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Dr. Sudhir Saran, and thank you very much, Professor Dr. R.K. Arya, for giving your views. And thank you all the viewers for watching our show. I'm sure today's program is very enlightening, but please see to it that we are also responsible. We should not leave every responsibility to the government. If we are doing something, we must do honestly, whether it's a Manrega work or whether it's anywhere we are doing. After all, we are building our own nation. Politicians will come, will go, but we have to be there, or our children will be there. Thank you very much. Thank you guys for watching our show. Thank you.